Hello there! Well, 3D has really blown up in recent years, although now people are starting to get tired of it. Nonetheless, I think if done well, it could be an excellent effect that transports and enhances the cinematic experience. So today, I'm going to count down what I feel are the top best uses of 3D. So slip on your cheap blue-red spectacles and enjoy the ride. Actually, no, this episode won't actually be in 3D, so you can just take them off. Here they are. A very Hatold and Kumar 3D Christmas and Spy Kids 3D Game Over. I don't normally have ties on these lists, but the reason I put these two together is because they utilize 3D for the same reason. To have things fly at your face for 90 minutes. Normally this might get annoying after a while, but both these third chapters actually do a very good job of integrating the gimmickry into the story. Hatold and Kumar use it to make fun of the whole idea of 3D, and there's some surprisingly effective moments, like the entire stop-motion animated sequence, and one part where Kumar actually smokes right in your face. Needless to say, that's the closest I'm ever going to get high. Lesson of the day, don't do drugs. As for Spy Kids, the characters actually wear 3D glasses, and it helps that Robert Rodriguez actually knows it's all goofy. Now the film itself isn't any good, as the characters are one-dimensional and the story is stupid, but it does know how to use gimmicky 3D. That pulls you into the action scenes and works with the whole video game motif going on. Now the reason I put these two so low is because of that gimmicky nature. I have no idea how the films hold up in 2D, but as 3D entertainment, the directors knew what they were doing. Tron Legacy. I guess if any franchise is appropriate to have in 3D, it's the Tron one. What's especially clever is that the scenes in the real world are in regular 2D, and only jumps to the third dimension once Sam enters the grid. Tron Legacy was very much a visual light show, with moments like the light cycle stadium, and even the quiet scenes between Sam, Kevin, and Cora use 3D in effective ways. The color palette also lends itself to the format, and the result was a rather breathtaking experience. The Polar Express. The film itself I'm not a huge fan of. The motion capture is creepy, the story is a hodgepodge of Christmas cliches, and I don't get why Tom Hanks is playing multiple roles. However, I saw it in IMAX 3D and it was definitely a spectacle. Robert Zemeckis especially took advantage of how to use that magnificent train. One sequence actually has the train front come right in front of your face. There are also the usual moments of sliding POV shots and snow falling down over the audience. And before anybody asks, no, I have not seen Beowulf and A Christmas Carol. I'm not sure 3D would have helped my viewing experience of Mars Needs Moms. Despite being rather underwhelming in the story and human facial expression department, the 3D in the Polar Express was at least well utilized. The Toy Story Trilogy. While live-action films have to be shot in 3D for them to look good, computer-animated films are already 3D to begin with. So in re-releasing the first two Toy Stories, it didn't take much for Pixar to add another dimension, and the result was incredible. I spotted details I hadn't noticed before, and it actually has the feel of being there on the same viewpoint as the toys themselves. The second one especially did an incredible job, with the opening video game scene and the airport climax truly astounding me. When Toy Story 3 was released, I of course went to see it in 3D, and though Lee Unkrich was accused of being subtle with his use of the format, I thought he walked the right line with it, and it helped make the infamous incinerator scene even more intense. Revisiting Toy Story and seeing the third one in 3D was an experience I was happy to attend. Tangled. The look Len Keane was trying to achieve was to bring a hand-drawn sensibility to computer animation, but the way the filmmakers used 3D was also an impressive sight. Of course, a story about a girl with super long hair would lend itself well to 3D, but the way Tangled uses its surroundings helped too. One scene where the two leads drowning felt like being underwater, while both renditions of Mother Knows Best had the feel of watching a Broadway show of how they utilized lighting and fog. I've Got a Dream also brought to mind a classic Disneyland ride, but of course the standout moment was the I See the Light number. When the lanterns float in the sky, the screen appropriately lit up and elevated the scene to further levels of heartwarming. Rio. Carlos Sadaya's ode to his hometown was like a little travelogue of Rio de Janeiro, so the 3D was used to bring the audience into the city at a much lower cost than an airplane ticket. From the Copacabana beach to Carnival to even the favelas, it was like an animated trip to all these locations. And when your stars are birds, the flying scenes are particularly magnificent, especially when Blue and Jules soar by the Christ the Redeemer statue. And like Tangled, the musical numbers use the format to superb effect, as did the chase sequence through the favela's corners and small spaces. The Disney Park attractions. Unlike the rest of the entries on this list, these are not theatrical releases, but rather only viewable at the various Disney parks. Leave it to the Imagineers to create some truly astounding use of 3D technology, though they also have the advantage of using the surroundings to create a true 4D experience. Muppet Vision 3D was actually the final project supervised by Jim Henson himself, and has got exactly the charm and humor we expect from Kermit and the gang. Leave it to Fozzie Bear to go the more gimmicky approach, and the first 3D Muppet is appropriately introduced here. Then there's It's Tough to Be a Bug, which frightened my younger self a bit, which is immense credit how it used the technology to make those tiny insects truly massive in scope. The most memorable 3D attraction to me is Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which successfully makes the audience smaller, and I'll never forget the sensation of all those rats running underneath our feet. It's truly amazing what the Imagineers came up with for these attractions. Now, I have not seen Captain EO, even though it was still playing at Disneyland Paris when I visited there almost 2 decades ago. I also have not experienced Mickey's PhilharMagic, even though it looks terrific. When in the happiest place on earth, you cannot go wrong with their 4-dimensional attractions. How to Train Your Dragon. The reason this place is so high is for one simple reason: the flying. Oh my goodness, the flying sequences in this were amazing. The camera work, as consulted by legendary director of photography Roger Deakins, was swooping, and it feels like actually soaring on Toothless's back. The romantic flight scene truly showcased the poignancy of the moment, and the final battle was also enhanced by the 3D. The multiple dragons and their abilities were almost perfectly suited for the format, like the long-necked dragons and the shorter fire-breathing ones. Speaking of fire, as a constant visual motif in the film, Chris Sanders and Dean DeBois also emphasized that in how they utilized the 3D. When How to Train Your Dragon was released in March 2010, Alice in Wonderland had earlier shown how not to do 3D, but thankfully this animated epic came along to show how it should be done. Hugo. Martin Scorsese is an extremely visual director, and so in making the leap to 3D, of course, the result used the format perfectly. Even go back and look at his earlier films like The Aviator or even Goodfellas, and there's a very three-dimensional feel to the shots. With Hugo, Scorsese not only used the technique to bring the audience into that incredible train station and Hugo's secret hiding areas, but also as an homage to classic cinema in a strange sort of way. The theme of the film is the importance of preserving the past, especially classic films, and Scorsese actually gives the audience the feel of being one of the first filmgoers. The infamous train running towards the audience scenario is recreated to impressive effect, as is other delightful little tributes scattered throughout. Martin Scorsese is one of those directors who adores cinema, so it makes sense he would use 3D as a tool to showcase his love. And my pick for the best use of 3D is Avatar. Say what you will about the film, quality-wise, but love it or hate it, James Cameron truly used 3D to its full effect here. I personally feel that the best way to use 3D is to immerse the audience into the world on the screen, and wow, did Cameron succeed in doing that. It really did feel like being on Pandora of all the surrounding flora and creatures. Of course, the flying scenes are magnificent too. There's something about flying that lends itself exceptionally well to 3D. Cameron also knew how to use color, considering the major characters are blue aliens. They were also well suited for the format. There was not a single frame in Avatar that did not take full advantage of the 3D format, and when it feels like you're standing with the characters themselves, you can't help but admire it. Now, admittedly, some people took their love for Pandora too far. I mean, it's a fictional moon from the mind of a perfectionist filmmaker. There's only so much James Cameron can accomplish. Watching on home video does lose a little of the immersive experience, which goes to show how much the big screen had an impact on Avatar's success. As much as I like Titanic, it took the 3D reissue to truly admire the scope of that film. The same will likely hold true for future generations when Cameron reissues it for them. Needless to say, Avatar soared and showed just how far and how well the right filmmaker can use 3D, and the other productions on this list definitely helped too. See you next time.